Science has become a religion, and it's limiting us. We often think of science as the antidote to belief. It was supposed to be the light that burned away superstition. And in many ways, it has been. Science gave us medicine, technology, and an ever-expanding understanding of the cosmos, both big and small. But somewhere along the way, science, or rather, the institution built around it, began to resemble the very dogmas it once opposed. Modern science, at its best, is a method. It is a way of questioning, testing, refining, and revising. But what happens when this method is treated as an ideology? When anything that falls outside its current models is dismissed as fantasy or pseudoscience? We risk turning inquiry into orthodoxy. We stop listening. We stop wondering. The idea of objectivity, once a noble pursuit, has now become an untouchable idol. We act as if objectivity is a clean, perfect lens, but the truth is that all data is interpreted by minds soaked in culture, bias, and assumption. The worship of objectivity has become a kind of blind faith. If it's not measurable, if it doesn't show up on a scan or a spreadsheet, it's deemed unreal, no matter how deeply it's felt. But what if personal experience is just as valid as lab results? A mother feels her child is in danger before it happens. A person emerges from a near-death experience transformed. Meditation alters not just the brain, but the sense of self. Are these stories meaningless because they don't fit neatly into a formula? Or are they signals, maybe glimpses into aspects of consciousness that science has yet to map? The most important breakthroughs in history came from those who stepped beyond the known. They challenged what was proven. If Galileo had accepted the orthodoxy of his time, the stars would still revolve around us. Today, those who question scientific materialism are often treated with the same suspicion once reserved for heretics. This isn't an argument against science. It's a plea to save it from itself. Real science thrives on mystery, on humility. It says, we don't know yet. Religion says, we already do. But when science starts echoing that same certainty, it becomes the very thing it sought to replace. Maybe it's time we reintroduce the subjective. Maybe we let consciousness, intuition, and experience back into the conversation. Because if we don't, if we silence everything that doesn't fit, we might just miss the most important truths of all in our pursuit of knowledge. Once, science was the rebel, challenging the church, questioning kings, unearthing hidden truths. It grew from curiosity, from people brave enough to say, what if the world isn't what we think it is? But over time, science became institutionalized. It needed funding, prestige, and structure. And as with any institution, it developed gatekeepers, journals, academic hierarchies, peer review panels, all designed to uphold standards, yes, but also to preserve power. Eventually, what began as a method of discovery became a system of belief. If an idea didn't pass through the approved channels, it was dismissed. Scientists became priests of certainty. Data became scripture. Laboratories replaced cathedrals. And like any religion, it declared, only this way is true. In this transition, science stopped listening to subjective experience, dreams, intuition, inner knowing. It labeled those things unscientific, even though they're foundational to human existence. In doing so, it severed itself from the very thing it needs to evolve: consciousness. So, why did science follow this path? Let's talk about 4 leading causes. Fear of chaos. When superstition ruled, people suffered greatly. Science pushed back with reason and order, but in doing so, it overcorrected. Anything that smelled of mysticism or feeling was discarded to avoid slipping back into ignorance. Materialism's rise. The scientific revolution coincided with industrialization and capitalism. Systems that thrive on measuring, predicting, and controlling. A worldview that sees everything as matter, rather than mind, was useful. It made better machines, better economies, but not necessarily better lives. Power and prestige. Like religion, science now grants authority. Experts are seen as the final word. This creates incentives to maintain the current paradigm and punish dissent. Questioning the known threatens not just ideas, but careers, loss of the sacred. In many societies, traditional spirituality eroded. Science filled the vacuum, but without the reverence for mystery. It offered knowledge, but not wisdom. Facts, but not meaning. How can we save something corrupted by greed and power? We need to restore its soul. The greatest scientists, Einstein, Bohr, Schrödinger, all spoke in awe of the unknown. We must return to that mindset. Real science says, I might be wrong. It welcomes anomalies. It learns from mystery. We must stop pretending that the subjective is less real. Inner worlds matter. Consciousness matters. Altered states, intuition, and insight may hold keys to understanding what science alone cannot reach. Let neuroscience talk to philosophy. Let physics meet meditation. Let AI research consult mystics. If reality is layered, we need tools from every level, not just microscopes and equations. Science should be for everyone, not just institutions. Citizen science, open access knowledge, and diverse voices must be uplifted. Wisdom doesn't only come with a degree, not religion and dogma, but reverence. A felt sense that life is more than code and chemicals, that the universe and consciousness itself is profound and participatory. When science bows again to mystery, it becomes noble. Consciousism teaches us to always be learning and seeking knowledge. Help us break the chains that hold knowledge hostage.